Greetings and welcome back to another exciting episode of Vista's Panorama podcast. Today, I, Anmol, along with Rishabhi, Riza, and Abhinav, are here to discuss on the mundane musings in the monotony of existence. Today, we'll be diving deep into the nature of letting go and how we cling on to comfortable things in our lives. It is a journey through impermanence, the quest for true wisdom, and overall understanding the human condition. So, without further ado, Rishabhi, how do you rationalize and make sense of your existence?
Well, Anmol, I think that at the onset of every journey, there lies a sort of apprehension. Whether that's to do with one's own self or the situation that one's in, it's a question that we all must answer in due time. But one thing that we can all agree on is that at the beginning, these challenges seem so difficult that it prevents us from even thinking about undertaking this venture. And it's so rare to think about going on a journey or beginning that journey when you're terrified of the idea of that journey alone. Don't you think so?
Yes. We've been told from the very beginning of our lives that the road of life isn't the smoothest of paths. And so life is always something like a roller coaster. It keeps you on your toes. And with every new journey, because of that, we are bound to feel anxious and pressured. But then, what is life without challenges, right?
Indeed, Abhinav. Isn't it interesting that every time at the outset, there is this sense of dread or worry that creeps in, like the unknown, the challenges, the goodbyes, and the letting goes? It can all be quite overwhelming. In fact, this sense of dread that often precedes the start of a journey is a universal experience shared by many. Like said before, journeys often entail leaving behind comfort or familiarity of one's home or routine. This departure from the known can induce a sense of vulnerability and discomfort. But here comes the best part. As we keep moving forward, step by step, inch by inch, this feeling starts to get better. It's like watching a fog lift, revealing a clearer path. Don't you think, while the prospect of the unknown can be quite daunting, the actual journey itself holds valuable experiences and rewards that makes the initial anxiety, well, worth it?
That is very interesting because I find it very interesting and fascinating how the human consciousness puts so much emphasis on the impermanence of everything, but we're so oblivious to it, right? Like we are just so dumbfounded when it comes to the nature of changing things and how we change as people. Like I'll take myself for an example. I'm not the same person who I was a month ago or 5 years ago, or I'm not going to be the same person who I was or am today 5 years in the future, or a month in the future, or a week in the future, or even tomorrow. It's not going to be the same. I'm going to change. I'm going to evolve as a person. And that is a part of letting go. It's evolving and reinventing yourself, right? Like the old saying goes, you should embrace change and not resist it. Let go or be dragged.
Yes, and I agree to what Riza said earlier to a certain degree. I think this sense of satisfaction is present, it's real. But at the same time, I think this sense of satisfaction can also give ways to feelings of complacency. I mean, I know so many people who work way less harder, but in their own ways, they seem satisfied. And while it's true that they will never probably reach the full heights of their potential, I don't think that they're necessarily willing to do so as well. So in one way, they're satisfied. In other ways, yes, they're complacent. And it's interesting how complacency plants itself into our minds and affects the way we work. Don't you think so?
Well, I take that in two ways, Rishvi. Maybe it's not only about complacency, rather about underestimating oneself as well. It's not every day one thinks about their true potential. Not every day can someone make time for it. We just don't know how much we're capable of. Furthermore, nobody teaches us how to know ourselves the way we should. I mean, most people don't realize the gravity of things when they actually become achievable. They just tend to pretend, or maybe even forget, to realize how much time, effort, and dedication the thing took to learn.
That is correct. Taking examples of the great personalities of the world, they all started small. The trait that often differentiates them from the rest is their remarkable ability to recognize and empathize that everyone at some point in their lives starts small. We live in a world that celebrates grand achievements, luxuries, the spotlight, and the extraordinary. But in our admiration for the exceptional, we sometimes overlook the journey that precedes it, the journey from humble beginnings to greatness.
True. That reminds me of a song by Pink Floyd. In the album Dark Side of the Moon, there is a song titled Time, and the lines of the song go, "You are young and life is long, and there is time to kill today." Followed by, "And then one day you find 10 years have gone behind you. No one told you where to run, and you missed the starting gun." These words have been very interesting and intriguing in my life personally, right? The idea that change is something that one needs to embrace rather than be stiff against or just resist is very, very interesting. It, challenges the conundrum of never really ready until you do it. And it's very interesting because the mental toll it takes to change and reinvent yourself or even let go of things is drastic. Like it's like building something for years and years and just destroying it with a sledgehammer. It's like taking apart a puzzle piece by piece that you've been working so hard towards, right? It can be emotionally draining. It's not uncommon to feel lost and just out of pace, even, trying to let go or trying to become something else. In essence, reality is kind of like a sort of liminal space between existence of one's desires and the crushing reality and magnitude of said desires and how to achieve it.
Well, Anmol, I think that trying to let go is a particularly lonely act. It's like the aftermath of a birthday party, when everybody leaves and then you're on your own. It's, I think, honestly, one of the hardest things to do. When you're in that moment and everybody's happy and everybody's living in it, but when you're trying to forget it, it seems as if you're the only one that's trying. And while I'm aware that this is somewhat a gloomy way to look at it, sometimes it seems as if there is no escape and this is the only way to cope with it. No?
Well, shouldn't we first think about why we want to let go of something? If you ask most other people, say our grandparents, for example, they tell you that everything that happens for a reason. And so for every memory we have, there could be a reason. Another factor in which we humans lack is to think about if something is affecting us or instead helping us become a better human being. Maybe it's also helping us understand life better. Maybe if we wouldn't have captured those memories in the first place, we wouldn't have lived the same way we had or we have been. And honestly, do you think that letting go of things is the only way to surpass memory? What is letting go of things, anyways?
That's a very good question. Letting go is not about erasing your memories, but it's about liberating yourself from the burdens of the past. Our memories, both good and bad, are an integral part of who we are. They shape our perspectives, influence our decisions, and at times hold us back from embracing new opportunities. While it's true that we cannot erase our memories or change our past, we can choose how we carry them forward. Letting go is about acknowledging that the past is a chapter that has already been written and the future is a blank page waiting to be filled. The best strategy for dealing with memories really depends on the specific kind of memory, the impact on one's life, and individual preferences. Sometimes it may be more about finding balance between remembering and moving forward rather than letting go entirely. After all, at the end of the day, the key is to ensure that our memories, whether good or bad, contribute safely to one's well being and personal growth.
That is true. That reminds me of the words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are words that are immortalized by one of the most famous constitutions in the world, right? The idea that we pursue happiness and we inherently do not have happiness is very interesting. The fact that we cling on to fleeting desires by pursuing happiness but never really quite get close to it. And the whole nihilistic nature and setting of it all, it's kind of, it's very intriguing and interesting too, right? We live in a world where we're told what we need to have, what we should be, or what we need to be, that we forget about who we are and how we're changing as a person while we pursue said things, right? It's like we're chasing after a finish line. For every step we take, the finish line moves two, three, or like even leaps like backwards, far, far away from you. And by the time you feel like you caught up to the finish line and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's just far too late. Everything's over. It's all over.
It seems like memories don't seem to let us go if we ourselves don't make an attempt to forget them. I mean, memories do exist, even in nostalgia, albeit hazily. But I think that if we wish with the entirety of our hearts and minds to hold on to all of those happy moments, then we don't really have to let them go at all. And isn't that what we all wish for? Those tiny fragments of solace in a series of all of these chaotic, scattered moments?
I strongly agree, Rishabhi. I don't know about Rizat, but I'm always going to nurture all those good memories I have in my heart. And honestly, I'm even gonna keep the bad ones too, because that's what makes me who I really am.
I would love to embrace my own memories as well, Abhinav. In fact, all of us should learn to cherish the laughters, learn from the lessons, and hold close moments that warms our heart. In the hustle and bustle of modern life, we accumulate material possessions, chasing the recent trends and luxuries. We accumulate commitments, filling our calendars to the brim with activities and obligations. We accumulate emotions, holding on to grudges, regrets, and anxieties. Let us all just take a deep breath in and reflect on our own lives. What burdens can we release? What attachments can we relinquish? What complexities can we simplify? By doing so, we may discover a new profound sense of peace, a deeper connection to the world around us, and a renewed appreciation for the beauty of the ordinary.
That was very well said, Reza. So before we conclude today's episode and leave you all pondering like the thinker in Rodin, I want to touch on the idea that really resonated with you. The burden of memories and the people and the past and all the memories involved it takes to let go. It's a topic that touches on the human experience in a very profound way. It is undeniable that all the experiences that we've had in the past, all the interactions with different people, with events, shapes us the way we are today, and how we interact with events, people right now and right here. But sometimes these events can be a burden. They can be very burdensome. They can be like an unyielding load that keeps on piling up and just exponentially growing over time. And, that can be very draining and can take a huge mental toll on a lot of people, even all of us, right? We might have something, some sort of idea or some experience that might be holding us back just a little bit, just enough to, not really be able to let go of our past, but, enough to have the spark in us to want to let go. Sometimes the most profound growth comes from knowing what to release and what to keep. It is a very interesting nature of the human condition. But with that, I'd like to conclude today's episode and thank you all for tuning in. Goodbye.